what we are having here is the log that started actually as a analysis for the cause of the roll of death. After all, it was proven that probably it was not roll of death, but the radio glitch, and I can prove it in a slide. Oh yeah, it's a radio glitch. You see over here, the pitch channel went to something crazy low, and then copter started to tumble and fall apart. But as we were taking a look at this element, there was also a request, or I proposed, never mind, to also take a look at the tune. And here are my thoughts about this particular tune of the Betaflight flight controller. Like always, first of all, let's take a look at gyros and motors. If this looks slightly strange or not, or good. To be honest, if I would have to say something about the tune, I would say that there is slightly, let me turn this off. There is slightly too much noise over here in the gyroscope. It's not very, very bad, but it's definitely too much noise on the motor traces. Or something like here when motors clearly went into a Pac-Man mode. This is not a good sign. Or here with pretty visible oscillations. Let's find something else. Here after, what was it? Oh, that was fast. Also here motors went into the oscillation, or here, or here, or here. More or less every time there is a need to do a very hard maneuver, the gyros, well, gyros are fine, the motors go crazy. What does it mean? This means that probably it's too tightly tuned. The PIDs are too high, at least P is too high, and it's just not flying very efficient. But before we go into that part, let's take a look how the noise characteristic look like. Gyro noise, let's zoom out, zoom and see. It doesn't look very particularly bad over the roll axis, pitch axis, or yaw axis. This very often looks like this, we can just ignore it. But here above 100 Hertz, it should be, I think, slightly flatter. It's not very bad, but I think it should be slightly flatter. Then let's close this element and let's check if we can, for example, see if there was a debug. No debug. Oh, there was a debug notch. So, we have a debug notch, so we more or less know what's happening before filtering happens. And over here, the noise characteristics over here is very, very visible over here, and yaw usually clean. It looks like kind of noisy quad to me, but it's not very clearly visible in the traces of the gyro. But here's something getting through, and here's something getting through. Now, I think I showed it already once or twice, or the video is not published. We have a new tool right now. It's called the Plasmatree PID-Analyzer, and it allows you to do really pretty impressive stuff with the logs. How to use it and how to set up, please go to UAV Tech. He did that. I will not do it because it doesn't make sense. And let's take a look at the filtering characteristics. This is what was fed into the PID controller for the roll, pitch, and yaw. This is what was stored as a debug notch, and this is what went into the Dterm. I would say that here, this fragment, this is a throttle and this is the frequency of the noise. is very visible. It was mostly attenuated on the roll axis after filtering. The same happened over here with the attenuation on the pitch, and yaw, almost like always, looks pretty clear. But there is really a lot happening over here in the Dterm roll, especially on the Dterm roll, probably slightly too much. Also this area, I would say that something is maybe not 100% correct with the filtering. Perhaps this quadcopter needs a slightly better filtering, or perhaps something else. The transmission is good. Over here is one more time. This is the roll, so this would be this area over here, and over here it's fine. Over here it's also fine. This peak is something that probably should be addressed on the filtering aspect of things. Okay, now let's go here and let's open the header information. Hardware off, PT1, gyro 90. This is strange because it looks like that the notch filters are kinda like, what the hell, if they are turned off? Oh, come on, this is wrong. This is very wrong. It should not be like this, because notch 2 cannot be 0 if the cutoff is 300. This means that the notch is disabled. That means that probably 300 should be here with the cutoff of, I don't know, 200. And here, this doesn't make sense. This is not how the properly set up notches should be behaving. Is there something else? And no, there is nothing else very interesting over here. Sonar failsafe. Which Betaflight was it? That was 3.25. Oh, I think it's time to update to 3.3, by the way. It will really, yeah, should make things better. Okay, so problem number 1 I see over here. The gyro notches are not configured, and actually they are disabled. They are not doing anything. The Dterm on the PT1, this also looks like slightly too wide Dterm notch, but maybe hard to tell. Dynamic, there is no dynamic information. Oh well, never mind. Now let's remove this and let's see what's happening on the roll and pitch. Zoom out, and yeah. This more or less confirms my prediction that this is a slightly too tight tune. If we go here, the roll P is 55 and the pitch is 60. That's really a lot. And here, yeah, you see the P term is oscillating. D term of course follows, but it usually follows. So, and what's happening on that was roll, and what's happening on pitch? Let's find something on the pitch axis. Oh, here we have exactly the same situation. P term goes into slight oscillation. That means there is too much P, and D term goes doing crazy stuff. The behavior of the D term is slightly explained by this graph. There is just too much noise in the D term roll and D term pitch, and probably slightly better tuned notch filter on the D term could improve it. You see, this is what I meant. Right now the D term center is somewhere here, while the peak is somewhere here. one more time, interesting. Let's go back to gyro. Something over here and something over here. Advice number 1, rethink the gyro notches. And for now, let's see what else we can say. I would try with maybe slightly lowering the Dterm for the beginning, but definitely the Pterm for both pitch and for, oh, this is very nice, Dterm oscillation. There is just too much noise going there. Let's go back over here. What I would do, I would probably went with Dterm filtering to be quad, because probably we need slightly better filtering over here. And like I said, set up better notches over here. Let's display the debug for the notch. No, debug notch. So, roll. I would set up the first gyro notch at more or less 250 Hertz and end it at more or less here 180. It would be pretty wide, but should work like expected. Probably more noise is appearing over here because with the rates we are sampling only up to 500 Hertz, but still, this is the place when the first gyro notch should be placed at 250, 240, down to 190, maybe 200 Hertz, and then it should improve the situation on the gyro traces. Next, too much P, too much P. How much is too much? I would go to 40-50 and then see what's happened, maybe even lower. Most of modern setups really need around 30 something on the roll and around 40 on the pitch, not more, because motors and propellers are just better over the last 2 years since those defaults were established. And let's help ourselves with this graph from the PID-Analyzer. This shows us that the PIDs on the roll are not that bad. They are maybe slightly overtuned over here, but oh, who's that? I forgot to silence my phone. Never mind. But definitely the response is too strong over the pitch axis. With the PIDs at 60, it clearly is just too much. This is also very nicely visible over here. This is response time and this is the strength. The perfect line would be very steep climb to 1 and then going flat over here. Here, not only the traces are pretty thick, that means that there is just too much noise fed to the gyro. This will probably improve dramatically if better filtering will be implemented, but also it overshoots here. The main line is not that bad, but if we go here for the worst case scenarios, you will see that even the overshoot sometimes go to 2 times the target. So definitely this should be here on the pitch axis addressed, and really I would lower the P gain for the pitch axis to 40 something, and the same on the roll axis, but the roll axis looks slightly better. The traces, overlap traces, are slightly thinner, and the worst case scenario is also not that bad after all, but still I would lower the PIDs. For the beginning, I would not advise to increase the Dterm because already the Dterm is kind of noisy. Let's go back over here. Dterm on roll especially is kind of noisy. I would even probably, oh, wrong. This one? this one. I would even try to lower the Dterm on the roll slightly, maybe to the level of 25 and nivelles, because usually most of the quads require more Dterm on the pitch axis because of the weight distribution. There is just more inertia on the pitch axis than on the roll axis. So I would go to 25 and then give it another try. Maybe this will improve the noise characteristic we are seeing over here. And maybe I is fine, hard to tell, but definitely less P, slightly. No, let's leave the gain for now as it is. Also, this is interesting. Why there is more I-term on the roll than on the pitch? If this is the pure X layout, then maybe this makes sense, but in most of the cases, much more I-term is needed on the pitch than on the roll. I would lower also the I-term over here, while we don't see the very visible oscillations. And yaw. On the yaw, I would increase the P gain because it's do not reaches targets very eagerly. Probably slightly more P gain should be required over here, and the thickness of the traces should be nicer after better filtering is applied. Okay, that's all for today. I hope I was pretty helpful, and next tune will be slightly better. If you have another lock with improved filtering and lower pitch, please send it to me. I will gladly make another analysis. This is all for today. Until the next one. Ciao!